Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Survivor Series review. And tonight's Survivor Series was from the Allstate Arena in Chicago. WWE has been there for Survivor Series weekend. Kicked off with SmackDown on Friday, NXT TakeOver War Games last night, Survivor Series tonight, and also be at the Allstate Arena for Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. But Survivor Series, we had all three brands going at it. We had Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And the build for Survivor Series, I thought was enjoyable. I really enjoyed the build for it, especially with NXT being involved for the first time, because every year for Survivor Series, it's always been Raw versus SmackDown. So I'm glad WWE put in NXT. So, change up the Survivor Series elimination matches with NXT superstars being in it. But Survivor Series this year, it was a good show, in my opinion. It was a good show. Wasn't great or perfect by any means, but it was a good show. Really enjoyed it. So, did it top NXT TakeOver War Games? Of course not. War Games last night was a great show, in my opinion. It was almost a near perfect show, from the match quality to the show last night, from the matches, the two War Game matches I really enjoyed, from the women and the men. The women's War Game match was better, in my opinion, than the men, but still, the men War Games match was enjoyable and really good. But let's get on with the Survivor Series review. So there were 3 matches that were on the Kickoff Show. I only got to see 2 of them. So the first match that was on the Kickoff Show was a 10-team interbrand tag team battle royal. So the teams that were in this battle royal were, reading right here, were Breezango, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, the Forgotten Sons, Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake, Heavy Machinery, of course, Usos, Vic, Tucker Knight, Imperium of NXT UK, Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel. Of course, Walter wasn't, a part of this because he was with Team NXT in the 5-on-5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination for the men. So then we had Lucha House Party, Grant Metalik and Lince Dorado, the Street Profits, the OC, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, and the Revival. So the team who won the match were Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. They won because they eliminated the Street Profits, from what I'm reading here. There you go. Ziggler and Roode won the Battle Royal. And then we had the NXT Cruiserweight Championship match. Akira Tozawa versus Kalisto versus Lio Rush. Got into this match towards the middle of the match, but I gotta say, it was a very entertaining match between the 3 of them. I like Akira Tozawa. Really enjoy Lio Rush. He's the NXT Cruiserweight champion. But Lio Rush ended up getting the win. Ended up hitting the final hour to Kalisto. So Lio Rush wins the match, still retains the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. But overall, like I said, I tuned in at the middle of the match, but it was entertaining. It was an entertaining, decent match. It was a triple threat match. Then we had the War Raiders, or the Viking Raiders. I almost said Viking Experience. God, I don't want to remember that when WWE called them when they came up to the main roster. So you had the War Raiders versus the Undisputed Era. Not as Michael Cole called them, because Michael Cole one time called them the Undisputed Era. Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's what Michael Cole ended up calling them. The Undisputed Era. It's Undisputed Era. Michael Cole. Get it right. So, it was War Raiders versus Undisputed Era and the New Day in a triple threat match. And the match itself, it was a very entertaining match. The War Raiders were entertaining here. The Undisputed Era, we had Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish in here. And the Undisputed Era, I thought they were going to win this triple threat. Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. But unfortunately, the War Raiders end up getting the win. End up hitting the Viking Experience on Kyle O'Reilly to score the win. So sadly, the Undisputed Era had to take a fall. Had to take a pin. So the War Raiders end up winning the match. But all in all, very entertaining match between these guys. So those were the three matches that were on the Kickoff Show. Now we're going to move on to the regular matches on the card. So Survivor Series opened up with the Women's Survivor Series elimination match. So it was Team NXT, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley, and Toni Storm. Team Raw, we had the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, Charlotte, Natalya, Sarah Logan. And for SmackDown, Team SmackDown, we had Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, Sasha Banks. And this was a good Survivor Series elimination match for the woman. And, points, it was a little sloppy, the beginning of the match, but it progressed and got, good as the match went on. So we came down to, in the end, Rhea Ripley and Sasha Banks. So Team NXT end up winning the match. We had Rhea Ripley hitting the Riptide on Sasha Banks. So Team NXT won the match, giving NXT the first win for Survivor Series. So Team NXT ended up winning the match. The only thing that didn't like about it was in the match, Candice LeRae and Io Shirai. They ended up going to the back because they were injured. They were coming off the women's War Games match last night. So, and most of these superstars that were in the War Games match, God bless them, because 24 hours since the War Games matches, they had to compete again for Survivor Series tonight. So we had Candice LeRae and Io Shirai. They went to the back. One point, Asuka ended up spinning the green mist at Charlotte, which was funny. And then, as it came down to Rhea Ripley and Sasha Banks, Candice and Io Shirai came back out. So they ended up helping Rhea Ripley win the match for Team NXT. That led to Rhea ended up hitting the Riptide on Sasha. So that was how Team NXT ended up winning. But all in all, it was a good match. It was a good match from the woman for the Survivor Series 5-on-5-on-5 elimination. Even though I say it was a clusterfuck because of the 5-on-5-on-5, but still, it was a good match. So then we had Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens was backstage. Seth Rollins ended up walking up to him. We heard the crowd boo at Seth Rollins. So Kevin Owens asks if Seth Rollins has something to say or not. Seth says everyone saw last night how Kevin Owens had a big moment with Team NXT. So Seth ends up going on and saying that he hates to ask, but considering, Kevin Owens' history, he needs to know where Kevin Owens' loyalty is tonight. Is Kevin Owens going to be on Team Raw or Team NXT? Kevin Owens ends up saying, last night was about what the Undisputed Era did to him. And he admitted that he has a strong connection to NXT. But NXT doesn't need him. And that Raw desperately needs him. So Kevin Owens ends up telling Seth Rollins not to worry because he's Team Raw tonight. Kevin Owens says, Seth questioning his loyalty and history is funny. So Kevin Owens brings up Seth Rollins when he turned on the Shield. And when he said that, Seth Rollins ended up walking off. So that was basically, what happened. So Kevin Owens was Team Raw for tonight. Then we had the triple threat match. Champion versus champion versus champion. Roderick Strong, the North American champion. Sorry about that, but I was saying we had Roderick Strong, the NXT North American champion, versus AJ Styles, the United States champion, and Shinsuke Nakamura, the Intercontinental champion. So it was a champion versus champion triple threat match. And this was a very good match between these three guys. Of course, Sami Zayn was out there with at ringside with Shinsuke Nakamura. And good match between these three. And towards the end, AJ Styles ended up hitting the phenomenal forearm to Nakamura. And Roderick Strong came in and pinned Nakamura. So Roderick Strong ended up winning the match, giving NXT a second win for the Survivor Series. So Roderick Strong ended up winning the match. But all in all, good match from these three guys. You know, the wrestling here in this match was good from Roderick Strong. Seeing Roderick Strong here was really cool. I like Roderick Strong. But good match. Good champion versus champion triple threat. So then we went to Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was shown warming up for his match against the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. And The Miz ended up walking in. The Miz admits that the both of them don't like each other, which we all know. We all know that there's beef between The Miz and Daniel Bryan. Sorry about that again, but like I said, we all know that there's beef and history with The Miz and Daniel Bryan. So The Miz says to Daniel Bryan he can't stop thinking about the feeling the Fiend brought to the ring on SmackDown on Friday. So The Miz went on and says, for their sake, for everyone's sake, that Daniel Bryan needs to take out the Fiend tonight. So Daniel Bryan ends up telling The Miz to shut up and get out of his face. And so that was that. So, Miz and Daniel Bryan, we all know about their feud. We all know that the both of them don't like each other. And then we had Adam Cole versus Pete Dunne for the NXT Championship. And man, this was a good match. This was a really good match between the both of them. Adam Cole, after him coming off the War Games match last night, and him and Ciampa, fell off, or Ciampa ended up, letting Adam Cole. The both of them fell off from the top of the cage, and they went through 2 tables. I'm surprised Adam Cole competed tonight after that fall from the cage, along with Tommaso Ciampa last night at War Games. But Adam Cole came out. He was all bandaged up, of course, from what we saw last night in War Games, in the War Games match. And Pete Dunne, big fan of Pete Dunne. Guy's talented, the former United Kingdom champion. And the both of them went back and forth in this match. And the wrestling here from the both of them was great. And you had one spot in the match where Cole and Pete Dunne were on the ring apron, and Adam Cole delivered the Panama Sunrise to Pete Dunne on the ring apron. It was a crazy, seeing that, crazy watch, seeing Adam Cole deliver that to Pete Dunne on the ring apron, which the ring apron is one of the hardest parts of the ring. And Adam Cole ended up winning the match. Cole ends up retaining the NXT Championship. And what happened post-match, the Undisputed Era, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, they came out, they celebrated with Adam Cole for his win and still retain the NXT Championship. Man, what a good match this was. What a good match it was between Cole and Pete Dunne. Both of them gave it all they got in this match. Huge fan of the both of them. Even also the Undisputed Era. But very good match. Very good match from Cole and Dunne. Then we had The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship. And as usual, we had to watch this match with the fucking Virtual Boy red light in, where it looked like we were watching this from the Virtual Boy, the Nintendo flop console from the mid-90s, where you look inside as you're playing the game and all you see is just red. Does The Fiend have to have the red light in every time for a match? Please, stop with the red light in. I mean, I liked it when it was at Hell in a Cell. It was a different feel. WWE was trying something different with the red lighting for The Fiend. But then saw that crown jewel, and I was like, my eyes couldn't even take it anymore with the red lighting. Same with here tonight. So I was watching the match. There are points where I had to look away because the red lighting was bothering my eyes. Please stop with the red lighting. It's not like we're playing the Virtual Boy and looking inside, at seeing the red and everything. But the red lighting needs to go. But knowing WWE, they're gonna keep the red lighting for The Fiend whenever The Fiend has a match, which we don't need to see. We don't need to see the red lighting every time that Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, has to have a match. What is wrong with The Fiend, wrestling, without the red light? It's much better. Much better. It would be much better if the red lighting, wasn't used. But anyways, as we watch this match from the Virtual Boy, The Fiend and Daniel Bryan, thought this was a decent match between the both of them. Daniel Bryan had a lot of offense on The Fiend. He was laying out drop kicks to The Fiend, running knees to The Fiend from Daniel Bryan. The Fiend ended up getting up from them after being laid out. But the end of the match, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, locked in the mandible claw on Daniel Bryan. And from that, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt end up winning the Universal Championship, retaining the Universal Championship. But all in all, decent match, but sucks that we had to watch it and with the stupid red light in. Please, like I say, stop with the red light in, please. It's like we're watching the match from the Virtual Boy. Please stop. WWE, please stop with the red light in. Doesn't need to be in every match that The Fiend has as the future progresses with the Fiend character. We don't need it. We don't need to see it all the time. Well, no, it was a decent match between The Fiend and Daniel Bryan. And from what I heard, rumors saying that Bray Wyatt as The Fiend is going to have a undefeated streak, and then it's going to end at WrestleMania when, from what I heard, rumors saying it, that Roman Reigns is going to beat The Fiend, and Roman's going to be the Universal Champion come WrestleMania. Hopefully that does not happen, but knowing WWE, they got to let Roman, because they got to be there. Roman's got to be there, their boy, the whole Roman agenda. They do it for Roman. It's going to come, folks. It's going to come, guys. It's probably going to come. We're all going to hate Roman again. When is WWE going to acknowledge that getting Roman over, it's not going to work? It hasn't worked in the past. What is this going to be, like the 7th time that you're going to try it out with Roman at WrestleMania and try to get him over? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, I guarantee you, the fans aren't going to tolerate that, and they're going to boo the hell out of, Roman, and they're going to boo the hell out of how The Fiend is going to be treated at WrestleMania if they book that match for the main event at WrestleMania next year. So then we had Sarah Schreiber. Sarah Schreiber was backstage. She was interviewing Rey Mysterio. She was asking Rey about the WWE Championship match tonight, where he's going to be taking on Brock Lesnar in a no-holds-barred, no disqualification match. I might as well just call it no-holds-barred because there's no disqualification in a no-holds-barred match. So Rey ended up talking about his history with Brock Lesnar. Rey ended up saying that Lesnar never changed, but he did. Mysterio went on to say that he will do things to Lesnar tonight that the old Rey would never have done. So he goes on and says he hopes his son Dominic is watching closely from home tonight, as he uses his pipe to beat Brock Lesnar and destroy him. So that was the interview with Rey Mysterio. Pretty decent interview. Then we had the Survivor Series elimination match for the men, the 5-on-5-on-5. So we have for Team SmackDown, we had Braun Strowman, King Borin, Mustafa Ali, because this was in Mustafa Ali's hometown of Chicago, Roman Reigns, and Chad Gable versus Team Raw, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Ricochet, and Seth Rollins. And for Team NXT, we had Damian Priest, Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Tommaso Ciampa, and the NXT United Kingdom champion, Walter. And the match was pretty good. Wasn't that great in the beginning, but it picked up as it went on. As the match went on. But what I'm not happy about is how WWE basically threw Walter under the bridge in this match. He was the first one eliminated. I'm like, how do you eliminate your United Kingdom champion when the guy is undefeated? His build up has been great, and you treat him like this, and He's the first one eliminated. How? And you know what? I'm glad that the fans in Chicago in that crowd booed the hell out of that, because they were chanting bullshit, bullshit, because it is bullshit. How do you have your United Kingdom champion, who is undefeated, be the first one eliminated? And the crowd was chanting for him. They were behind Walter. You heard the chants of Walter, Walter, and he's the first one eliminated. Fucking bullshit. And then you had Randy Orton ended up going up against Tommaso Ciampa here, which that is one match I would like to see for the future. Randy Orton and Tommaso Ciampa. And you had Matt Riddle. He ended up, Randy Orton ended up RKOing Matt Riddle. Corbin came in, eliminated Matt Riddle. And then it came down to Keith Lee and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. So Keith Lee ended up eliminating Seth Rollins. And then it came down to Roman and Keith Lee, which the crowd was behind Keith Lee. The crowd really wanted Keith Lee to win this match. Even me, because I'm a fan of Keith Lee. He is excellent in the ring. And, you know, going into seeing Keith Lee and Roman as the only two guys in this match, I'm like, you know what? They're gonna let Roman win, because you know WWE. They're not gonna let Roman lose to NXT, to an NXT guy, and that's basically what happened. What we saw, Keith Lee ended up doing this power bomb to Roman, which I thought that was gonna be it. So it was 1, 2. Then Roman ended up kicking out of it. I'm like, yeah, Roman's winning. So Roman ended up spearing Keith Lee. There you go. Roman ended up winning, giving SmackDown the win, the point. So there you go. Team SmackDown wins the men's 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match. So all in all, it was a good match, but like I said, in the beginning, wasn't that great, but then it picked up as it went on, as the match went on. So. Then we had Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio, no holds barred match. This was for the WWE Championship. And this match wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. This actually turned out to be a surprisingly good match. Of course, we had Rey Mysterio as the match began, picked up the pipe that he had, and he was working on Brock Lesnar. And towards the middle of the match, we had Rey Mysterio's son Dominic shows up, and he has a towel. He was going to look like maybe that Dominic was going to throw in a towel. This was referencing to what happened at Full Gear. Oh, sorry about that again, but I was saying, Rey Mysterio's son Dominic came out with the towel. They were copying what happened at Full Gear. If you remember, at Full Gear, MJF ended up throwing in the towel with the match with Cody and Jericho. And so Dominic didn't even throw the towel in. Him and Rey took out Brock Lesnar. They LeRae low-blowed Brock Lesnar, and him and Dominic, just went on Brock Lesnar. They did a double 619 to Brock Lesnar. Dominic ended up hitting a frog splash to Lesnar. Then Ray went for one. So father and son, working in the ring. And like Dominic was going to the top, Brock Lesnar ended up catching him and giving him a suplex. And Ray went to the top. Brock Lesnar ended up catching Ray and ended up hitting the F5 to Rey Mysterio. And that led to Brock Lesnar win the match. Brock Lesnar wins the match, still retains the WWE Championship. And they also, Ray and Dominic, they were giving chair shots to Brock Lesnar, forgot to mention. All in all, it was a good match. It was a surprisingly good match. It wasn't as bad as I was thinking that the match was going to be. But surprisingly good match from Lesnar and Mysterio. And then we had the main event, which was the triple threat women's match. Shayna Baszler, the NXT Women's Champion, Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion, and Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, going at it. All three of them going at it in the triple threat match. And my God, was this match boring. This was a boring match that should not have main evented. I would have to say that Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio should have main evented because of the thing that happened with Rey Mysterio and Dominic. Them both taking out Brock Lesnar. I thought that would have made sense for the show to end on, even though Brock Lesnar ended up winning. But the match itself, it was boring. This match with Shayna Baszler, Bayley, and Becky Lynch. It was cool seeing Shayna Baszler in here. I like Shayna Baszler. I'm a fan of hers. She's one of the best women in the NXT women's division. You know me, I'm a Bayley fan. Huge Bayley fan. I like this new heel persona for Bayley. And I like Becky Lynch too. Fan of Becky Lynch too. So, but man, match was boring. Shayna Baszler ended up winning. She ended up locking in the Kita. I think that's how you pronounce it. Kita clutch on Bayley. Bayley ended up tapping out. There you go. Shayna Baszler ended up winning the match. So, giving NXT the last win. So, the final Survivor Series scores were NXT 4. SmackDown had two wins. And Raw only had one win. So NXT ends up winning this year's Survivor Series, which is awesome. And, you could tell that, with NXT winning the Survivor Series, you could tell that Triple H was involved with all this because Triple H is, behind NXT. These are his superstars that he built up, and he's treating these superstars that he has great. And you could tell possibly, also that Vince McMahon was throwing a hissy fit in gorilla position because neither of his two shows, Raw or SmackDown, got big wins. Especially Monday Night Raw, which is their flagship show. Monday Night Raw only had, like I said, one win tonight for this year's Survivor Series. So it proves that NXT is the better brand. NXT is the A show, in my opinion. Even though WWE likes to say Monday Night Raw is their A show, Monday Night Raw to me should be the D show or the F show, considering how many shitty shows they end up putting on last year and this year. So, but Shayna Baszler ended up winning the match. Post-match, Shayna Baszler, has her title, and Bayley rolls over and tries to recover, and Baszler ends up exiting the ring. She stands on top of the announce table, and she's looking down at Becky Lynch, who is laid out because they end up slamming Becky on the announce table. So Shayna Baszler turns and leaves, tries to get off the announce table. Fans were chanting for Shayna. Becky ends up jumping off the top of the barrier and puts Shayna Baszler through the announce table. So Becky ends up standing tall, and she ends up saying, something, about this being her show. So Becky Lynch's music ends up hitting, and she stands tall. She raises the Raw Women's Championship, and she's talking trash while she was standing on top of the announce table. And then, that's how Survivor Series ended for tonight. But all in all, this year's Survivor Series, like I said, good show. Wasn't great or perfect by any means, but it was a very enjoyable, good show. Though, like I said, it didn't top TakeOver War Games from last night. But overall, good show. So anyways, that's it for my review of Survivor Series. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until the next video, which will be the Monday Night Raw review, which is going to be up tomorrow night after the show, like always. So until then, I'll see you all tomorrow night with the Monday Night Raw review.